Hello, MechWarrior fans! This is Duncan Fisher. Today is the dawn of an exciting new league, a trial by fire, a proverbial bloodbath of lasers and autocannons, the likes of which you have never seen. Born from the twisted mind of the Dragon's own Hohiro Kurita, this new league will pit the finest MechWarrior units throughout the Inner Sphere against each other via intense skirmish-based combat. If you thought 1 vs 1s and 2 vs 2s was hardcore, well, just wait, because the Martial Olympiad is reborn.
Hey Mech fans, it's Cousin to Indigo here, and it is the 19th of March here in New Zealand, in the third week of the Martial Olympiad Reborn, the first tournament being brought to you by the new player-run competitive league, MWO Comp. Recording a little early this week, given that I've got a bit of a busy and hectic work schedule ahead of me, so just a caveat that what you hear in this recording may change a little bit by the time that it is released, but hopefully that there's nothing that changes too much between now and then. Some fantastic action in round 2 of the tournament, so let's get straight into the results. Now we had 228 Blackwatch playing against Potato Killers in the crossover match between NA Div B and NA Div A. And this was a 5-0 win to Blackwatch. They really did come back and show the difference between Div A and Div B. Potato Killers are an excellent team, and for seeding wise, they're not that far behind Blackwatch, but this was a very, very good demonstration of the difference between the divisions. So well done to Blackwatch with the win there. They moved to 1-1 in that highly competitive division. Potato Killers as well moved to 1-1 after 2 rounds. Bears Brawlers had their first game against Diamond Shark Command Cluster. Diamond Shark did take that one 4-1, so a good win there in Div C. That takes Diamond Shark to 1-1, and Bears Brawlers unfortunately didn't get off to too good of a start there. 228 Death from Above had an excellent win against the Answer in a Div B game. Pretty tactical, and Death from Above again showing just how competent they are at designing and implementing strats. So I know they were pretty disappointed with how they went in round 1, and they certainly redeemed themselves with a pretty strong performance there. Again, they are looking like a power in Div B, and they did demonstrate it there with a win over the Answer. Death from Above moved to 1-1 after 2 rounds, and the Answer to 0-2. Now in EU Div B, we had a match between Clan Widowmaker and Friends and Majestic 12. This was a fairly comfortable win to Majestic 12, who once again got a 5-0 victory. Again, as I've said, they are an absolute powerhouse in that division, and I guess the question now after 2 rounds is, should they be in Div B or should they be in Div A? That EU Div A is competitive, but Majestic 12 really showing how strong they are, and if they continue this form, then yeah, I think they may find themselves in a division up next time round. They moved to 2-0, and Clan Widowmaker and Friends to 0-2 after 2 rounds. Also in EU Div B, we had the 31st Hussar against Furia. Now this was a very good win and a very close game. Furia did win that 3-2, and 31st Hussar are actually seeded higher than Furia, so this is a really good win. Furia do move to 1-1, and Hussar to 0-2 in that division, but this might be a key game for where Furia end up in that division, so a really good victory there. We had Smoke Adders 505th against the 79th Raptor Talon Cluster, and 79th Raptor with a stomp 5-0. Very powerful display here, so they would be very happy with their showing. They move to 1-1 now in that division, and Smoke Adders 505th had started off with a victory, so a good win there for 79th Raptor. We then had an amazing game in NA Div A between Black Omen and EMP, and this was a very close game, and EMP, as they tend to do, they found a way to win. They started off and they looked like they were not going to be stopped, but Black Omen really did play well. And we talked last week about the fact that it will probably come down to who was the better team. Look, there was a hair's breadth in this one. So a very good game, and very much looking forward to seeing these two lock horns again. I hope that does happen. I haven't checked the schedule, but yeah, very good game, and well done to EMP for getting the victory there. They move, of course, to 2-0, and Black Omen to 1-1 in that division. From powerhouses to powerhouses, Eon with a comfortable victory over Phoenix Legion, 5-0. What can you say? Unstoppable. That's what I'll say. That's the way that Eon are looking at the moment. They move to 2-0 in that division. I don't think that we're going to see that 0 move at all. I think that they will do a clean sweep in that division, and that's nothing against the other teams. It's really just saying how dominant Eon are at the moment. Another excellent game in NA Div B. White Knight Legion got up over Smoke Adders by 3-2. Now, Smoke Adders did win the last 2 drops. They really did surprise White Knight Legion with how well they performed in those last 2 drops. They won them easily. Very dominant display. So they'll be asking themselves how they can capture that kind of form throughout all of the matches. And if they had performed that way earlier, then White Knight Legion might have been in trouble. But this was an excellent game, and White Knight Legion got out to a quick start. They won the first 3 drops, but credit to Smoke Adders, who performed excellently to come back and take those last 2 drops against a very good White Knight Legion, who go to 2-0 now in that division. Smoke Adders yet to get off the mark 0-2, but a lot of hope in that display. An excellent win by I Hate My Team in EU Div B over RJF Irie. Now, this is an excellent win against a team that's seeded higher than them, so I Hate My Team should be very pleased with themselves. They moved to 2-0 in that division after a 4-1 win. Now, that scoreline, I guess, is a little bit misleading. It was a lot closer than that, and a very good match. So well done to those teams. The more games we can get like that, the better, I think. But it will be highly competitive. Obviously, Majestic 12 looking like the force in that division, but these other teams, they're really going to be fighting it out for second place, I think. Now, we had Dropship 4, who played their first match. This was actually a round 1 match, delayed until a round 2 play. And Dropship 4 got the win 4-1 over Blackthorn Dragoons. And Dropship 4 really came out firing. They won in very impressive fashion here. It is a good team to watch if you like watching MWO streamers, because they do have, I think, about half their team as streamers. So really cool to see. Gives those streamers who most often probably play solo queue and the occasional bit of group queue, but really good to see them dipping their hat and having a go at competitive play. So Dropship 4 looking like a bit of a powerhouse. They were technically not as highly seeded as Blackthorn Dragoons, but they got a pretty convincing win there, so well done to Dropship 4. Aces Wild Black Aces then played Cameron Highlanders Son of Thunder, and they had a pretty easy victory there, 5-0. They go to 2-0 in that division, and as we've spoken about already, they are looking like the favourites to take that. A strong win by Black Aces, and looking at the numbers, they had a really good spread across their pilots as well for damage and match score. So signs, I guess, of a team that's functioning pretty well and able to have everyone contribute. So well done to Black Aces there. Another 2 very strong teams in EU Div A. So this was first Jaguars against RJF, and Jaguar Guards again scored a very good win here. They ended up taking this match 5-0. But it was far closer, I think, than that scoreline would tell us. Now, they really were pushed by RJF. RJF played very well. Data for first Jaguars really did lead from the front there, but it was the light play by first Jaguars, I think, that allowed them to win the way that they won. So some impressive work there by their light unit. They were really outstanding and showed, I guess, just how valuable timing by your light unit to engage is. Clan Crossfire then played MS Crabpeople in an NA Div B game. Now, we unfortunately went down 3-2 to MS Crabpeople. Now, that is the feature game that I'll talk about a little bit further on, so I'll go into a little bit more detail then. Blackthorn Dragoons then had their second game of the weekend, and they obviously learned from their first. They got a good win over Diamond Shark Command Cluster, so that was 3-2. A strong performance by Diamond Shark. Pharaoh in particular was very, very good, but this did go down to a 5th drop, and it was pretty good from BTD to be able to take that one. So they moved to 1-1 in that division, and we'll be happy that they did get a win over the weekend. We then had Diamond Shark 39th Strike Cluster playing 228th Death from Below, and another good performance from Death from Below to get the win there. They won this one 5-0. Some good performances from Fedrat Sailor and Destrix from Diamond Shark, but pretty comprehensive in the end, and it even early on it starts to set up this matchup between Death from Below and Aces Wild, Black Aces, so that looks like the match to be tuned into for that division. Alright, so that was round 2, and let's have a little talk about some of the key takeaways from round 2. So round 2 did bring us Solaris City as a comp map for potentially the first time. I don't know if that's been featured in other ones, but I think it was clear across the round that teams were potentially a little unsure of how to play it, particularly with the tonnage that you had available on this map, and teams really couldn't avoid bringing assaults. And in fact, for this map, 1 in every 4 mechs that were played over the round were Annihilators. So Annihilators, as big and tanky as they were, seemed to be the go-to for strategy in this map. I hope we get to see Solaris more in comp, and I think we'll get to see better and more decisive strategies in this one. You take Canyon, which is almost second nature strat-wise for a lot of teams. Solaris did turn into a bit of a slugfest, I guess, as people tried to work out what the best approach was, and that was kind of cool. Nice to have some different challenges and some different things thrown up by comp. Now, overall, in the games we played, we saw 233 different variants, and it was the Mad Cat B that was the most popular and pretty much the most effective mech as well, with some pretty high average damage scores and a lot of kills. We did see a greater spread of mechs, though, this time round. So compared to round 1, where you had a relatively small number of mechs account for most of the mechs that were taken out, this time we had a far wider spread, so more than 50 variants this time made up at least 75% of everything that was taken. So yeah, it's good to see that variance, and some of that will be because of Solaris City and the working out of strategy. But yeah, really, really nice to see some spread there and some different mechs being used more often. So Solaris and Polar replaced Canyon and Mining from round 1. And it did mean that we saw a bit more brawl this time round, largely because Polar was domination and Solaris, not as much opportunity for those range and control strats with all the tall buildings. But the map ban phase was once again dominated by Alpine Peaks and Rubelite. And in fact, those two maps have accounted for more than 70% of the picks in that map ban phase. So I guess that kind of supports the fact that this range and control strategy is the go-to one in comp, and what we're seeing between teams is probably just a difference in the methodology and the execution. And when we look at the Div A games, we can certainly see the effectiveness in their execution, and the mix that they pick will be as highly meta as they can be to achieve that, which is as we go down the divisions, we see the similar strategies, but we just see the methodology and the execution vary a little bit. It's worth keeping an eye on, because if we do continue to see these types of maps selected in that map ban phase where they're available, it does pose the question as to whether strats drive the meta or the mechs drive the meta. Round 2 looked relatively similar to round 1, with average match scores of 223 in round 1 dropping to 214 in round 2, and we had a relatively similar drop in damage down from round 1 to round 2. So some of that might have been the maps, but it's close enough to be virtually the same. Even the kill ratio was exactly the same, so the amount of mechs on average that we see killed during a match was virtually identical from round to round. Again, it's something else that's worth keeping an eye on, because if we continue to see those averages remain the same despite different maps and potentially different strategies, it maybe starts to tell us that player skill and teamwork are far bigger drivers of performance than the map or the mode. So a small sample size for now, but that's something that we'll keep an eye on and see if we can see any changes as we go through the rounds, whether those average scores are telling us anything else. More fantastic pilotship in round 2, so here's some of the top performers to highlight. Totok the Potato Hunter was pretty devastating for Blackwatch, averaging 447 damage and 340 match score across his 5 games in round 2. I mentioned the good win that 79th Raptor Talon Cluster had, and that was in part due to a fantastic performance by T-Bird. Now T-Bird averaged almost 500 damage and 340 match score across the rounds he played, nabbed 5 kills to go alongside that. Bowser was his normal effective self, and he averaged almost 600 damage and 350 match score, and took just a casual 9 kills in the games that he played against Black Omen. So again, pretty impressive. We all know how good Bowser is at the game, even at that high level. Mr. Anderson also took a break from the Matrix to join 79th Raptor again in a pretty devastating performance, averaged almost 600 damage and almost 400 match score across the 4 drops that Mr. Anderson played. But my pilot of the round this round is Shakes. Now apologies if I haven't pronounced that correctly, but Shakes is part of the I Hate My Team, EU Div B, and Shakes played a pretty crucial role in getting the team across the line for that excellent win. Shakes averaged almost 650 damage per round and 400 match score, and was thirsting with 10 kills. Now, Shakes looks to have made particularly good use of a Jaeger mech DD, and across 2 games in that mech got almost 1500 damage. So that is insane. So an amazing round for Shakes, and again, we'll keep an eye on these top performing pilots each round. Now, the War Crime Award this week's goes to my unit mate, Knives. Now, Knives, you managed to do 217 team damage in just 1 game. Now, that is impressive. Right, so after the matches, let's go to the standings, and we're going to start with EU Div A. As you can imagine, this is a fight out at the moment between Eon and First Jaguar Guards, who are both topping that 4-team division. Russian Jade Falcon and Phoenix Legion are bringing up 3rd and 4th there. I do think Eon will be the runaway winners in this division, and Jag Guards look to be a pretty comfortable 2nd. Obviously, the game that those 2 play will be crucial in deciding that division. To EU Div B, and Majestic 12, of course, topping this division. I Hate My Team currently in 2nd, both of those with 2 wins from 2. So their matchup will obviously be crucial in how that division shapes up. RJF Irie in 3rd, Furia in 4th, Clan Widowmaker in Friends, and 31st Hussar Regiment bringing up 5th and 6th. Both of those teams haven't yet got a win. To North America Division A now, and this is the 3-team division, with EMP and Black Omen playing a pretty crucial match over the weekend, and EMP coming out on top. So they are currently in 1st in that division, Black Omen in 2nd, and 228th Blackwatch in 3rd. Again, this division is probably the closest, and some very, very good matches coming up. Blackwatch and EMP go at it in a couple of weeks, and that should be an excellent, excellent match. To NA Div B now, this is a 7-team competition, and at the moment White Knight Legion are striding ahead, 2 wins from 2, closely followed by MS Crabpeople, also 2 wins from 2. Death from Above got their first victory, and they will snap at the heels of those 2 front runners, with Potato Killers in 4th at the moment and not too far behind. Smoke Adders, Clan Crossfire, and The Answer bring in the last 3 of those teams. All of those teams, unfortunately, without a victory yet. NA Div C now, and we have got Dropship 4 leading the way there in that division. Diamond Shark Command Cluster in 2nd, Blackthorn Dragoons in 3rd, Aces Wild in 4th, Cameron's Highlanders Claymore in 5th, and Bears Brawlers in 6. They have just played the one game, however. And lastly, we head over to NA Division D, and here we have Death from Below, the early front runners, as we mentioned, with Aces Wild Black Aces. 79th Raptor Talon with that impressive win are in 3rd. Smoke Eaters 505th in 4th. Diamond Shark 39th Strike Cluster in 5th. And Cameron Highlanders Sons of Thunder bringing up the rear there in 6th. Right, so before we go to the schedule for the next round, we're going to go to the featured game. And this week I've chosen an NA Div B match between MS Crabpeople and Clan Crossfire. And of course that is a game that I participated in, so I have a bit of a first-hand perspective. Now, on paper it did look like it was going to be a close match, with Mercstar a higher ranked and really organised unit and 3rd seed in that division against a plucky Australasian team who, we'd been humbled the week before by Black Omen, a very, very good team, and we were certainly looking for a good performance and some payback. It was an excellent match, if I do say so myself, and it did come down to the last drop with Mercstar taking those honours, which, look, if I'm honest, they did deserve. They were probably the better team on the day, so well done. Strong performances by Xavier for Mercstar. He averaged 380 damage across the 4 drops he played, including 6 kills, 5 kills in one match, incidentally. And for my unit, TK87 was very, very good. He averaged 444 damage and 3 kills across the 5 drops that he played. So TK is a very good player and showed it in that game. Also, a quick shout out to Kurlon for his casting of that game. He was solo casting and has been doing a pretty masterful job of keeping everything running as well as a live cast. Right, drop 1 was Solaris City, and this was one that Mercstar won on caps. So this was the most dominant showing of the match, and Mercstar got off to a really, really good start in this heavy, heavy drop. MS looked to secure some early caps, and they raced to Epsi and Kappa. They were able to get Epsi, and Crossfire were able to scare the light off Kappa and get that. And it did mean that there was kind of 2 caps per team for a little while, whilst each of the teams had their fatties, had their tonnage, 6 heavy or assault mechs, wander around the map a little bit. Clan Crossfire sent a bunch to Epsilon and kind of set up there. Mercstar hung around outside the circle, close to Theta for a little while, got some intel, did some scouting, and then basically moved in to engage Clan Crossfire where they were at Epsi. Now this turned into a bit of a poke battle around a corner of a building, and Mercstar just did an excellent job of picking their trades and dropping strikes. So they really softened up Clan Crossfire with some excellent strikeage, and by the time they went to push, they were able to isolate one of the Clan Crossfire assaults, take that one down, and that really did signal the charge for them. And they pushed into Clan Crossfire's tonnage, which was already pretty softened up from this really good use of strikes, and they just pretty much ploughed through, and it snowballed pretty quickly. Obviously, with the main tonnage down, it turned into a light chase, and it did mean that MS ended up winning on caps as they chased 2 of Clan Crossfire's lights, took one down but did lose a couple of mechs in the effort. Kimichiwa was really the standout in this match, although he was the pick of a bunch of very, very good assaults for Mercstar. So Kimichiwa did manage to bag more than 1,000 damage with some very, very well-placed shots and some very well-placed strikes in his roughneck. So this was an excellent start, a very good performance, and did get MS rolling pretty well. We did roll then into Polar for drop 2. So both teams brought Fast Brawl into the first Polar drop, with Mercstar bringing a couple of their totem crabs along. Clan Crossfire had a similar deck with linebackers and Arctic Wolves, but they brought SRM brawling builds rather than the laser builds that Mercstar had favoured. Clan Crossfire stayed low, and once they reached the circle, kind of pushed to the left, really just looking for an opportunity to push and use the fast brawl to an advantage. Some good intel and a really good call by Captain Cat, the CXF drop caller, meant that CXF were able to rush in on Mercstar, and what this drop really came down to was the difference really in the brawling builds that Clan Crossfire had brought along. So the SRM linebackers and the SRM Arctic Wolves were just a little bit more effective and were able to get their damage out a bit better than the laser builds. So a good victory for CXF, and they took this one down 8-3 in the end. They had a pretty good damage spread, and they really did show the way that fast brawl can be used by picking a target or picking a point, pushing in really quickly, and boom, 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 just taking down mechs. So we ran that back, and this time Mercstar opted for a little bit of a different approach and opted for more of a trading deck. They brought along a Jägermech and a couple of PPC Hunchies and got some lights into the circle, but set up really a bit of a concave on their side out of the circle, hoping to use their range. Clan Crossfire brought Fast Brawl once again, bringing in Stormcrow's Assassins and an IV4, and the tactics were relatively similar. They were looking for that weak point to try and rush in. Now this time round, Clan Crossfire thought they had found it. They pushed forward on the right hand side once they reached the circle, seeing those long range mechs and really trying to neuter them before they had a chance to get their damage down range. And the assassin group, 3 of the assassins alongside a commando, rushed up the right side and were able to do a really good job in their backlines, and CXF did drop a few of those long-range mechs, taking down the Hunchies, taking down the Jägermech with the AC2s. But it did result in the team getting strung out a little bit and a couple of mini-fights breaking off. Mercstar did an excellent job of being able to just rotate away long enough and delay the push by the assassins. So they were able to turn what looked like a pretty strong push into a disadvantage as they wore down the armor percentages and then finished off mechs very, very quickly. So a special shout out to Xavier and his Wolfhound, who got 5 kills in this match and over 500 damage. And Mercstar really showed the benefit of good focused fire and just accepting a push, maintaining their concave whilst they rotated, and just getting the damage in, getting the damage in, getting the damage in. And whilst the long range mechs did drop because they just didn't have the DPS, the other mechs that did have high DPS with the energy builds really did come to the fore. So that was an excellent win for Mercstar, and they took that one pretty convincingly in the end. The map ban phase brought us to Alpine Peaks, and Clan Crossfire did come back and win this one 8-3. Now both teams did bring similar decks on the map, with long-range Battlemasters generally the most common mech. Crossfire looked for quick caps, got on Kappa early, got Theta via a Commando and Gamma as well, and then they moved their tonnage up and around that I-9 mountain, looking to set up there and trade. Mercstar had come down the hill and had basically set up in that opposite trading position where those hills are around Epsilon. Now, there was a bit of trading back and forth here, and this was one of these games that really could have come down to caps and could have been pretty drawn out. But the key moment came when Fuzzy NZ in his commando for Clan Crossfire made a play on Sigma to try and get the cap advantage. Now what this did is he struggled to get the cap, but it did draw away up to 3 of Mercstar's mechs. And Fuzzy showed some really, really good light play by keeping the attention of these mechs, being elusive, taking advantage of the tankiness of the commando. And whilst he did go down eventually, he really did occupy their attention long enough for Clan Crossfire to win the trades, and really it started to snowball from there, and Crossfire were able to push out from their position, push Mercstar back, and in the end able to win that one 8-3 before it went to caps. So that sent us to drop 5, the last and deciding drop, obviously once again on Alpine Peaks, and each team of course was hoping to snare the victory. Crossfire took another long range deck, though they'd replaced their lasers, their long range lasers, with some DACA, and they even brought along an LRM Hunchie. MS opted to push up the valley from their position, and they had a long range deck as well, so they pushed up whilst Clan Crossfire came right down. This became a trade game pretty quickly, with each team with 2 caps, and Gamma across the other side of the map having been left uncapped. Both teams realised, I think, that that cap might be crucial and that might be heading for another protracted trade engagement, trade game, and Clan Crossfire sent a light out and were able to get the cap, but Mercstar did the same thing and they were able to get the cap back, and Mercstar sat with a cap advantage for a little bit of time, and eventually Clan Crossfire were forced to react, and that meant that they pushed forward to try and take Theta, and unfortunately ended up finding themselves in a crossfire, ironically. Mercstar were able to rotate round, so they were actually firing on them from 2 sides, from Sigma and from Kappa. And this one did snowball pretty quickly. Clan Crossfire lost their flea, meaning that they were virtually hamstrung around capping, and even more committed to the push, but they really did get stuck in around Theta in an effort to capture it, and it was really a classic case of cap pressure forcing one team to act, and that team then ending up in a bad position because they'd been forced into action. So they lost the trade game, got fired on from 2 sides. So it was an unfortunate end to an excellent match that Mercstar won with that last drop. It was a back and forth battle. I was very happy to take a part of it, and well done to Mercstar for a very, very good victory there. So let's get to the scheduled matches for round 3, and just to note that in round 3, the first map is Tourmaline, the second and third maps are Caustic Valley, and in the map ban we still have Alpine Peaks, River City, Rubelite, Terra and Viridian. Now, Tourmaline is a great map and is pretty renowned actually for the control and overview positions that you can get up high on those spires. This round I think we would expect to see quite a few PPC summoners with jump jets, obviously up on those spires, and long range Dakar does seem to be pretty popular. So that is a heavy drop on Tourmaline. Annihilators and mechs like that, Mad Cats, are probably going to be pretty popular, and we may see the occasional Dragon 5N with some Dakar as well. It is a map where cap strats are a legit strategy, so I also think some games will be won and lost on the light play on Tourmaline this week. So it'll be really interesting to see whether that plays out. Caustic will be a little bit different. It is domination. I don't think there will be as much range and control. I think it will be largely brawl. We should expect machine gun lights to dominate on these drops, given the heat up there in the Caldera, which is where a lot of the fight will be. There might be some protracted engagements and some jockeying for position with the cover that you get there around the Caldera, but I think this will often come down to a brawl, and I think we will see some cool Dakar there. Now, as mentioned in the map bans, we have seen Alpine and Rubelite dominate, and that probably is in line with the fact that this range and control strategy is the most common and the one that most teams are comfortable with. So I shouldn't expect that to change. I don't think there will be too many curveballs. I think teams will continue to pick those maps that they have played on and have practiced for until such time as those change. Alright, let's go through to the matchups for round 3 and see what we have got scheduled. So Clan Widowmaker and friends play RJF Irie in an EU Div B game. That is the 14th ranked versus the 21st ranked RJF Irie 1-1. Clan Widowmaker and friends yet to get off the board. We would think that Irie would take that one pretty easily. Another EU Div B battle between I Hate My Team and the 31st Hussar. Now these teams are seated a little bit closer together, but I Hate My Team are looking to be playing pretty well, so we would think that they're going to take that one maybe 4-1 or something like that. We have an NA Div B battle between Potato Killers and The Answer. Potato Killers are 1-1, and The Answer are yet to get off the mark. Again, we would favour, I think, Potato Killers in that one. They look like a strong team, and they will probably go close to a clean sweep in that one. We have an NA Div D battle between Diamond Shark 39th Strike Cluster and the 79th Raptor Talon Cluster, so got a bit of a cluster battle here, and that one should be pretty close. Raptor Talon are coming off an excellent win and a pretty good performance, so that one should go their way, I think. I think the Raptors will come out on top of the Sharks there, but you never know. Cameron's Highlanders Claymore play Bears Brawlers, and again, Claymore have looked pretty good thus far in this NA Div C battle, so I think I would favour them over Bears Brawlers. This one's probably likely to be a 4-1 scoreline or something like that. We then have a crossover match between North America Div A and North America Div B, the might of EMP up against MS Crabpeople. So MS Crabpeople have been playing very well. They are 2-0 so far in Div B, but this is a whole nother ball game, and we have certainly seen the Div A teams dominate the Div B teams. So I like Crabpeople. They're a very good team, but I think EMP will go 5-0 in that one. An NA Div B game between 2 to 8th Death from Above, the 9th seed overall, and Smoke Adders 13th seed overall. Death from Above 1-1 thus far, and Smoke Adders yet to win a game, but have come very close, and particularly with the performance in those last 2 drops against White Knight Legion last round. So they might push Death from Above. This will be an interesting battle to see how this one goes down. Smoke Adders 505th play Cameron's Highlanders Sons of Thunder, and the Sons of Thunder have been struggling a little bit. I think that 505th will take this one in that NA Div D battle, but Sons of Thunder are ranked higher, actually. They're 29th overall on roster strength, so they might be able to pull one out there. My unit clan Crossfire go up against the frontrunners in NA Div B, White Knight Legion. We are yet to get off the mark, and White Knight Legion have been 2 from 2 thus far, so they are performing very, very well. But again, we will give our best, and hopefully we will be able to take that one, though I think it might be close. Aces Wild play Bears Brawlers, who are playing a couple of games over this weekend period just to catch up. That's an NA Div C battle, and that one will be close. Both teams are yet to get off the mark, so this one might come down to who's got the better strats. We go to EU Div A, and Phoenix Legion playing RJF. Now this one should be a very, very good match. We're talking about the 5th ranked team versus the 4th ranked team on roster strength. Both teams have come up against the powerhouses in that division thus far, so this will be a very, very telling match, and very much looking forward to tuning into that one. We go to North American Div D, and 2 to 8th Death from Below play Aces Wild, Black Aces, and man, am I looking forward to this match. I think this will be the seminal match in that division. Whoever comes out on top here, I think, will be hot favourite to take that one away. So good luck to both teams there, and very much looking forward to tuning into that one. Another EU Div B battle between Majestic and Furia, and as I have mentioned, Majestic are simply looking too strong for that division, so I think that they will cruise to a win there. And we do have the Blackthorn Dragoons playing Cameron Highlanders Claymore, and whilst BTD have got themselves a win, Claymore did look pretty good in the one game that they've played thus far, so I think they will win that one, although expect it to be close, maybe 3-2 to either team. Right, so that is us for another week. As always, be sure to tune into as much action as you can and support this player-run competition. Check out the MWO Comp Discord, and do be sure to subscribe to the MWO Comp YouTube channel. Get them up and over 100 subscribers so they can get that custom URL. Of course, you can go there for all the game replays. Really, really good resource. For the live action, of course, make sure you follow the Twitch channels, MWO League and MWO League 2. And if you want more information about the tournament itself, you can go to the tournament website, which details the schedule and all of this other stuff that I have been talking about. Would also, again, like to give a big thank you to the Shoutcasters for their time and effort so far. It isn't an easy thing to manage a game, and some of them are doing it solo, so please give them your support as well. And as always, a big thank you to the comp admins for their continued behind-the-scenes work. It has been fantastic thus far, and long may it continue. And of course, be sure to subscribe if you aren't already to the Incoming Missile podcast YouTube channel. Of course, you can catch us on your podcast platform as well. We will continue to provide these updates for as long as the tournament is going, so stay tuned so that you can stay up to date on all the actions. Alright guys, enough from me. I'll catch you next week.
Memories erased and burned.